Hello everyone, welcome back to the Heffy Doodle channel. Steph here today with this adorable Halloween themed card featuring the Hoppy stamp set. Before we get started with crafting, I'm going to show you all of the Heffy Doodle products that I use to make this project. As you can see, there are quite a few. I do use a lot of little stamps from a lot of these stamp sets. I don't actually own any of the Heffy Doodle Halloween themed products, so I did have to get a little bit creative when planning this one. So as you can see, I'm going through and stamping out all of my images. I've got those cute little frogs, I've got a bunch of the little lollies and candies from the Santa's Village stamp set, as well as a few other bits and pieces from the Special Delivery stamp set. My colouring today, as always, will be super simple. So I am using a bunch of Copic markers here, and all I do when colouring in is use a lighter colour first, then a darker colour for the shadows, and then I go back in with that lighter colour to blend them together. It is that simple. I then also use a white jelly roll pen a little bit later for some white highlights to give them a little bit more dimension. And while I'm colouring in, I thought now would be a good time to talk about the inspiration for this project. I don't know about you, but I have been spending a lot of time on both Instagram and YouTube watching all the new Halloween releases for my favourite crafty brands. Heffy Doodle have some really cute things coming out very soon. And I've just been feeling very inspired to do something Halloween-y. I'd love to know in the comments below how Halloween is celebrated where you are from in the world. Here in Australia, it's still nowhere near as big as I dream it will be one day. I was raised in a spooky house, so Halloween is not something that my family has ever been opposed to, but seeing it become more and more popular each year here has just been a dream come true. This is my time of year for shopping for home decor that will be used year round. I'm starting to get quite the collection of cute jars and cauldrons and things to store all of my crafty materials in. I have one little black cauldron at the moment that actually stores only my Heffy Doodle memo tape. I'd also love to know, do you like to do Halloween crafts? For me, I love them as much as I love Christmas crafts. Though I probably have fewer people to send my Halloween cards to than I would for my Christmas ones. Once all of my images are coloured and have their white highlights, I run them through my adorable Heffy Doodle mini die cut machine. This is probably my most favourite Heffy Doodle product. I just love how little it is. It works exactly like the bigger one that I own, but it sits on my desk and it is right next to me whenever I need it. Before I start setting my scene for my card, I like to arrange my images with all of their little accessories first. This just gives me a better idea of how big these little pieces are going to be, how much space they're going to need around them, and I can see them as a whole while I'm placing them on my background. So I'm adding this little hat and scroll to this frog. Maybe he's dressed up as a little graduate. This little cutie down here has a little paper hat. I've got a grey froggy here who is camouflaged in with the rocks. And the last one has that cute little crown. One thing that I really do love about the Heffy Doodle stamps is how tiny some of these accessories are. I've always had a thing for stamped images being incredibly small and detailed, so all of those little things just make me so happy. These Catherine Pooler inks were something that I grabbed from the Heffy Doodle store a little while ago. I haven't had the chance to use them yet, and I've never used this brand's inks before. While I think they are available here in Australia, I feel like maybe they're far more expensive than when I grabbed them from the Heffy Doodle shop. Either way, I'm very sad it's taking me this long to use them for the first time because they were amazing. I really like how super spongy the ink pads were, rather than, I guess, really solid like some of the other Distress Oxide inks that I usually use are. I love that they're water reactive as well. That just works perfectly with all the cards and backgrounds that I make. They are crazy pigmented as well, so I was barely tapping onto the stamp pad while using this blending tool, and the colour coming off it was incredibly dark. Even so, I was able to get quite a nice blend between these colours. And when I needed an orange that this set didn't come with, but I felt would look good for a Halloween background, I used one of my Distress Oxide inks, and it actually blended in very well with these inks. While I loved the background and its colours, I did need to add a little bit more texture and dimension to this. So I've got my little paintbrush here, and all I did was flick some tiny droplets of water all over it and set that aside to react. I've got a few pieces to my background for this card, so this is the one that will be stuck down to my card base. And I didn't want it to be stark white, so I've used those 3 coloured inks, and I've just added a little bit to my craft mat, watered it down, and sprinkled that over the top of this white background. And that's really when I noticed just how spongy those ink pads were. They had a real satisfying bounce to them. Now for my favourite part of any card, and that is starting to set the scene. So I've got my stitched pond here that I'm adding down the bottom. I'm going to trim off the excess for this, and I've left the top of it without glue so that I can start adding those little reeds in behind it. With my Moxie alphabet dies, I have cut out the letters for the word Hoppy with some black cardstock, and I'm going to line them up along the top of this background. Then add some white highlights to them to make them pop a little bit more. Now that the larger white background is dry, I'm going to add some double-sided tape runner to this background and adhere them together. I just love these Showtime frame dies. They are probably one of my favourite things that I own by Heffy Doodle. They are so incredibly versatile and all of them layer so well together. So I've used them for quite a few of my projects over the last 6 months. And now that my backgrounds are together, it's time to assemble the rest of my scene and place down my little frogs. They all have some double-sided foam strips on the back that I have cut down to fit them nicely. And once they're stuck down, I'm then going to go in with just a little bit of PVA glue and add a whole bunch of lollies and candies around them. I think my favourite one is the little grey camouflage frog down the bottom. I chopped the lollipop so that it looks like it's hanging out of his mouth. He's just so cute. With my card front pretty much ready, all I need to do is add some double-sided tape onto the back of it and adhere it to a card base. And there we have it. This Hoppy Halloween card is complete. I hope that you have enjoyed this project, and I hope you've enjoyed the other projects that I've shared with you over the last few months for Heffy Doodle. Don't forget to check out the Heffy Doodle blog and website. All the links will be available in the description box for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.